The name of programmer Grace Hopper is not well known, but she played a key role in turning computers from inaccessible computing machines into user-friendly tools. In professional circles, she is called the Incredible Grace, the grandmother of software, and even the Queen of Code. We tell you about her life and inventions. Grace Hopper's journey into computing wasn't a straight path. Grace Hopper was born in 1906 in New York. Only her father worked in the family, he was an insurance agent, and her mother was a housewife. According to Hopper, she inherited her mathematical mind from her. As a child, she once took apart 7 alarm clocks just to see how they worked. This desire to understand how things functioned stayed with her throughout her life. Later, Grace decided to go against public expectations and get a technical education. In 1924, on her second attempt, Hopper entered Vassar College, the first educational institution for women in the United States. She studied mathematics and physics, and in 1928, successfully received a bachelor's degree in these specialties. Hopper then entered Yale University. There, in 1934, she defended her doctorate with a dissertation on irreducible polynomials and ring theory. Having received a doctorate in mathematics, Hopper returned to her alma mater, Vassar College, and began a teaching career. But this career path did not last long. In 1939, World War II began, and the United States became a participant 2 years after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Hopper did not immediately manage to contribute to the victory of the Allies. At 34, Hopper was too old to enlist in the military. The scientist was also underweight. She had a thin build. In 1943, through the WAVES, Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service program, she was able to join the U.S. Navy Reserve. Hopper first attended the Naval Reserve Cadet School at Smith College in Massachusetts and graduated at the top of her class. After a year of training, now an ensign, Hopper was sent to the Ordnance Computing Projects Bureau at Harvard University to work on the Mark I, an automatic sequence-controlled calculator. This is where her love affair with computers began. She worked on the Harvard Mark I, one of the earliest computers. At the time, computers were massive machines that filled entire rooms and operated using punch cards, very different from the sleek devices we use today. In essence, it was the first American programmable computer. Working for the military did not weigh her down. On the contrary, she described the experience as the most complete freedom I have ever had. Moreover, in those days, the Army and Navy were the most promising places to work for many innovative scientists. Hopper called the Mark I an impressive beast and the most beautiful gadget she had ever seen. The Mark I was 17 m long, 2.5 m high, and at Harvard it occupied a separate room. But here's where it gets interesting. Hopper realized that making computers easier to program was essential for the future. Instead of using complicated binary code, she believed that people should be able to give computers instructions in plain English. This idea seemed crazy at the time, but Hopper wasn't one to back down from a challenge. In 1952, Hopper invented something that changed everything: a compiler. A compiler is a program that translates human-friendly programming language into machine language. Before this, programmers had to communicate with computers using complex strings of numbers. Thanks to Hopper, they could now use simpler commands that made coding easier and faster. This invention opened the door for a much broader range of people to become programmers. She once famously said, "The most dangerous phrase in the language is, 'We've always done it this way.'" Hopper was all about innovation, pushing boundaries, and making technology more accessible. Hopper didn't stop there. In 1956, her team launched Flow-Matic, the first programming language to use verbal commands. Flow-Matic became the basis for COBOL. Designed to be simple and easy to understand, COBOL became a vital tool in the world of business and government. Even today, decades after its creation, COBOL is still in use in banking systems and older government databases. COBOL was the work of many people, not just Hopper, but the fact that her brainchild was the basis for the language earned her the nickname, the grandmother of COBOL. Grace Hopper was also responsible for popularizing the term computer bug. In 1947, her team discovered an actual moth trapped in a relay of the Mark II computer, which was causing problems. Hopper and her colleagues taped the moth into the computer's logbook and labeled it the first actual case of bug being found. From that point on, debugging became a term used for fixing computer problems. Grace married Vincent Foster Hopper, a professor of English and New York University alumnus. However, their marriage did not last, and they divorced. Even though they parted ways, Grace kept her married name, and it was as Grace Hopper that she became famous in the world of computing. Grace never remarried and had no children. She poured her energy into her work, which she saw as her true calling. Friends and colleagues often described her as someone who had a unique blend of humor, intelligence, and passion for solving problems. Her dedication to her work often meant long hours, but she always approached it with enthusiasm. Grace Hopper was a woman who lived ahead of her time. She served in the Navy until she was 79 years old, becoming one of the oldest officers in service. After she retired, she continued to inspire others, giving lectures and encouraging young people, especially women, to pursue careers in technology. She received countless awards, including the National Medal of Technology and Innovation, and was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2016. She passed away on January 1, 1992, but her spirit of curiosity and innovation lives on. Hopper's passion and determination left a lasting impact on the world. She didn't just teach computers how to talk, she taught generations of people to push past limitations, ask questions, and find new ways of solving problems. In a world that increasingly relies on technology, Grace Hopper's innovations remain at the core of how we communicate with computers. Thanks to her, programming languages are more human-friendly, making coding accessible to millions. Grace Hopper was a visionary who changed the course of technology. Her story reminds us that no idea is too bold and no challenge too great if you're willing to think differently.